Good afternoon, everyone. Please post your doubts. Let's begin with solving your doubts. After that, we'll quickly revise the entire SA-250. We will be able to finish off SA-250 and then we begin with the new standard. Okay, there is one doubt which says, please explain point number 5 of question number 4. Let's go to question number 4. Point number 5. Okay, it says unusual payments in cash. Is that the point that you're talking about? Unusual payments in cash, purchases in the form of cashiers, checks payable in bearers, or transfer to a numbered accounts. Okay. So one, usually transactions where GST is involved, you usually pay by check. You do not pay by cash. Now, however, if you find huge amounts of payments made by cash, then there is some kind of non-compliance. So you will study that when you study PGBP, that cash after excess of some amount is disallowed by the income tax department. So that is your first point. Second, you are not giving account pay check, you are giving bearer check. Now, why are you giving bearer check? That can also indicate some kind of non-compliance. And the third one is transfer to a number account. So suppose if you have to make one payment to one party, you do not make one payment, you make multiple payments to the same party in their different bank accounts. Now this can again somewhere indicate that you are trying to have non-compliance with some or the other act. So again, this can be an indicator of non-compliance, right? So unusual payments in cash, you have to ensure that high amount of payments are not by cash. You will also then have to ensure, apart from high payments of cash, you will also have to ensure that they are not by bearer checks and they are not transferred to a numbered bank accounts, right? I hope that is clear to you. Okay. Let me see if there is one more doubt. Yes, I can see one more which says, please give example of whether by design or by accident in 10th point of question number 4. Okay, let's go to question number 4. Okay, it says existence of an information system that fails whether by design or by accident to provide an adequate audit trail. Okay, let's take an example over here. Point number 10. See, understand it again. Your information system is not able to create audit trail. Now, it may be so that the design of the system is such that you cannot obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. For example, if you post a journal entry, you are directly able to check. After posting a journal entry, you're directly able to check the balance sheet. The system does not allow you to check the ledgers. Now, do you have audit trail? No. Why don't you have audit trail? Because the design of the system is such that audit trail is inadequate. Second is accident. Accident means the design is absolutely correct, but somewhere by mistake or by accident, you are unable to obtain audit evidence or audit trail. What will you do in this case? In this case, you will improve information. In this case, you will have to information. You'll have to improve on your information system. Right. So I hope that solves your doubt. Okay, great. Now there is one more doubt which says, please explain 2, 3, 5, 7, 9. What I will do is I'm going to revise the entire standard as such with you. So Akshay, your points will be covered at that time. Apart from this, any specific doubts that you have? Any more doubts? Only one doubt is left unsolved. Any more doubts? If you have any, quickly post it over here. Otherwise, we quickly revise the entire standard. Okay. If there are no more doubts, what we do is we first look at one question that is left in this standard on auditing. We understand that question, complete the standard, then we again revise the entire standard from the first point. And at that time, question number 4, 2, 3, 5, 7, and 9, all these points will be taken care of. Right, so let's go to the standard on auditing. This is the question that we did, question number 4. Now let's come to the last question, question number 5. Right, understand the question. It says the auditor is responsible for compliance with law and regulation by the audit client. So it says it is the auditor who is responsible for compliance with law or regulation. What do you say on your chat box? True or false? On your chat box, is it true or false? The question says auditor is responsible for compliance with law and regulation. What do you all say? True or false? Everyone on your chat box. Right, definitely it is false. If this is false, then whose responsibility it is for compliance with law and regulation? किसकी responsibility है? Yes, it is the responsibility of the management. It is the responsibility of the management. Okay. Let's see what they've given. It is said incorrect. As per SA-250, consideration of law and regulation in an audit of financial statements, it is the responsibility of the management with the oversight of those charged with governance to ensure that the entity's operations are conducted in accordance with the provisions of law and regulations. The auditor is not responsible, underline that. The auditor is not responsible for preventing non-compliance and cannot be expected to detect non-compliance with all laws and regulations. However, before issuing an opinion on the financial statements, the auditor has to determine whether the client has complied with the provisions of the applicable law and regulations. So it is not the duty of the auditor to check compliance, to ensure compliance with law and regulation, or he himself cannot be held responsible for complying with law and regulations. However, before issuing an opinion, before giving his audit opinion on the financial statements, it is the duty of the auditor to ensure that the management has complied with all the laws and regulations, all the applicable laws and regulations in an audit of financial statements. Are you getting it? So management is responsible for complying with the law and regulations. The auditor is not responsible for compliance with your law and regulations. Are you understanding? Right. So that brings you to the end of SA-250, the heading of which is consideration of law and regulation in an audit of financial statements. Right now, before we go to the new standard on auditing, I wish we revise this entire standard thoroughly, and then we proceed to the new standard, that the material for which I have shared with you already, which is SA-530 audit sampling. Okay, let's quickly revise this standard on auditing, and then we proceed to the new standard. Okay, we began this standard by understanding the meaning of the term non-compliance. Non-compliance means omission, or it can be commission. This can be intentional, it can be unintentional, and it should be contrary to the law and regulation. Right? Only then you will call it a non-compliance. Then we did what are the objectives of the auditor as per SA-250. The objective of the auditor is to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence regarding non-compliance with law and regulation, which have a direct effect on the financial statements. Right? Second point that we saw is that it is the auditor's duty to perform audit procedures to identify in instances where there is non-compliance with other law and regulation, which is having a direct impact on the organization. तो पहली duty है direct effect कि जहाँ क्या करना है, you have to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence. दूसरी duty किसके लिए? Other laws and regulations. वहाँ पे क्या करना है? You have to perform audit procedures over there. Right? Third point. The third point says you must respond appropriately to non-compliance with the law and regulation. सबसे पहले you will obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence. Second, you will perform audit procedures to find out whether there is any other law or regulation which is material and compliance is important. And third, if there is any non-compliance, you will respond appropriately to that non-compliance with the law and regulation. Right? Your next point is what are the duties of the auditor? The first duty of the auditor is to understand the entity's environment and to obtain a general understanding about three things: legal and regulatory framework which is applicable to the entity, किस industry या sector को belong करता है, and how the organization is complying with the framework. Right? So three important points. So say for example, we took this example. Suppose if we go to conduct the audit of A Limited, which is a pharmaceutical company, then we try and understand A Limited, who is our client, what is the legal and regulatory framework that is applicable. The legal and regulatory framework that is applicable is Companies Act, because it's a body corporate, it's a company. And second, since its shares are listed, it is also covered by SEBI Act. Since it manufactures medicine, the industry to or the sector to which it belongs is the pharma sector. And finally, the special act which is relating to drugs is also applicable to us. And finally, how the organization is complying with. So we ensure that we have a fully experienced chartered accountant who can handle the pharmaceutical companies. Sorry, that kind of accountant is there to take care of the compliance with all the laws and regulations. Say for example, if there are technical laws that are applicable, then you would prefer a lawyer to be a part of this organization and take care of the laws and regulations that it needs to comply with. Second point, duty to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence. So it is the auditor's responsibility to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence regarding laws and regulations that have direct impact on the financial statements. It is their duty to perform audit procedures to identify non-compliance with the other laws and regulations. How will you do that? You have two methods to do that. First, you will inquire of the management regarding compliance with these laws. So you will inquire of the management कि आप comply कैसे कर रहे हो. And second, उनका licensing या regulatory authorities के साथ जितना भी communication हुआ है, वो भी आपको thoroughly check करना है. That what is the kind of communication or correspondence that has taken place between the management and the licensing or regulatory authorities. Fourth is the duty to remain alert. So the auditor must maintain professional skepticism. He should be alert that there can be instances that we may perform an audit procedure and we may find out that there are instances of non-compliance. Right? Duty to obtain sufficient and appropriate, duty to obtain representation from the management. This is the last source of audit evidence that the auditor will obtain. He will ensure that all non-compliances or suspected non-compliances have been disclosed to the auditor. So you will obtain a representation from the management that the management has disclosed everything to the auditor and that there are no non-compliances with at any point, right? And finally, then you have next question which says, what is the management's responsibility regarding compliance with law and regulation? You have uh, basically you have 5 points in that. If I'm Yes, you have 5 points on this. Let's look at them step by step. Look at the first point. It says proper systems ensure, you should have proper systems that will ensure monitoring the legal requirements, and all your operating procedures should be designed to comply with these requirements. So we took an example that in a factory, the law now says that you must have a mask, safety shoes, and safety glasses. So what have we done? We have kept these three things just outside the factory gate, and we have a trained watchman. Now that watchman will always ensure that anyone who is entering should have these three things. मतलब मैंने अपने ऑपरेटिंग प्रोसीजर को ऐसा बनाया कि ऑटोमेटिकली लॉ फुलफिल होगा और सब कुछ सिस्टमैटिकली चलेगा. Second, internal controls that are placed in the organization are properly formulated and implemented. जो भी internal controls है, they will be properly formulated and implemented. Point number 3, we have a formal code of conduct with which we ensure compliance with all the internal control procedures. And if any employee is violating that, then in that case, we will have actions taken against those employees who do not comply with those regulations. We will have to ensure that the management will have to ensure that they have competent and experienced lawyers who are monitoring the compliance with their laws and regulations. And finally, is the management maintaining proper records for compliance with law and regulation, where we saw for the doctors, they have to maintain a register known as 3C register, which has the details of all the patients. If you are at a construction site, you need to maintain a register with the names of the persons who are working over here and the payments that you have made to them. And then if you are running a hotel, then in that case you need the name, address of your customer, the purpose of visit, and where he or she is going back, and when he or she is going back, in this case, right? That brings you to the end of management's responsibility in terms of compliance with law and regulation. Then we did what is the effect on the auditor's report of non-compliance with law and regulation. The auditor has to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. And if the auditor has sufficient and appropriate audit evidence that there is non-compliance with law and regulation, and if the effect is material and pervasive, both, the auditor will give an adverse opinion. If the effect is material but not pervasive, the auditor will give a qualified opinion. However, if there is a limitation on the scope of work of the auditor and the effect is material and pervasive both, you will give a disclaimer of opinion. If the effect is material but not pervasive, you will again give a qualified opinion. Right. And finally, we did a question which says give examples of matters that indicate about non-compliance with law and regulation. So Akshay, now all your doubts will be solved. So please focus on whatever I'm saying. The first indication is that there is investigation by a regulatory organization or by government department. तो अगर किसी ने आपके वहाँ इन्वेस्टिगेशन किया है तो वो तभी आएगा जब उसको श्योर शॉट पता है कि आपके वहाँ कोई प्रॉब्लम है. मतलब this is an indicator that there is some non-compliance in your organization, or otherwise the investigation will not happen. Or payment of fines and penalties. So if you have paid some fine or penalty, then in that case again it is indicative that there is some kind of non-compliance. Second point, पेमेंट फॉर अनस्पेसिफाइड सर्विसेज. आप सर्विस समझा नहीं पा रहे हो आपने किसके लिए पेमेंट किया है, तो हो सकता है दैट इज फॉर ब्राइब. यू आर गिविंग लोन टू योर कंसल्टेंट्स, you are having payments to related parties, so that can again involve some kind of non-compliance with AS-18. Or to employees or government employees, that can again be in the nature of bribe or any other illegal activity. Right after that, you have the third point, which says excessive payment made to sales commission or agent fee. So suppose if you want to violate some law, you need to take the support of your salesman or your agent, and then the agent will take that risk only if you have some extra payment being made to that person. So only then that person will do that non-compliance for you. So again, it is indicative of non-compliance with any law or regulation. Purchasing significantly above or below the market price. We had sufficient discuss on this yesterday regarding the Competition Act. So if you try to disturb the market by significantly above and below, by purchasing above and below the market price, that can again cause problems to you. Fifth point, which says unusual payments by cash. So if you claim GST and make high amount payments by a check, However, if someone is paid by cash, then again that can result in non-compliance with some or the other law or regulation. Payment by bearer check. So you always give an account pay check. Now the question is, why have you given a bearer check? And why is the person not taking the amount in his account and is directly withdrawing from your account? That is again a question. And transfer to numbered accounts. You make payment to one party, but you make to a number of bank accounts. Then then it becomes very important to understand why are you doing this. Then you have unusual transactions with companies registered in tax havens. So if there are companies that are registered in tax havens, then they can take undue benefit of this. So it is very important to understand that the nature of these transactions with companies which are registered as tax havens. Payments are made to countries other than those from which the goods and services originated. So again, this can be indicative of some kind of non-compliance. So non-compliance with RBI norms, non-compliance with FEMA, all these acts play an important role when it comes to point number 8. Point number 9, you need proper exchange control documentation. If you do any transaction without exchange control documentation, then that is again against the FEMA Act and that will indicate non-compliance. Point number 10 says the information system is not able to create an audit trail or is not able to generate sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. मतलब हमको audit evidence भी नहीं मिल रहा है और हमको जो पूरी chain check करनी होती है एक transaction की from the starting till the end, that audit trail also we are unable to obtain. Point number 11 says your transactions are unauthorized or the transactions are not properly recorded. So if you have unauthorized transactions, if the internal control says that it has to be authorized by XYZ officers, and if you do not get that, again, that is indicative of non-compliance. And if the transaction is not recorded properly, if it's not disclosed properly as per the accounting standards, then again, that indicates non-compliance. Not only accounting standards, if there is non-compliance with any law that is there, that will again indicate non-compliance. And finally, you have adverse media comments. So if you find adverse comments in the newspapers, in the media, in the magazine, in the social media that you have, which means everyone will not give you false statement. If there are such adverse media comments, definitely there is something wrong in the organization. There is definitely some non-compliance. The auditor will check in detail and try to find out what kind of non-compliance is there. Right? I am again repeating to you, these 12 points do not guarantee that there is non-compliance, but they give you an indication that there may be non-compliance. Now, what happens when you understand that there may be non-compliance? If you understand that there may be non-compliance, you will check in detail. Okay, everyone on your chat box. If I tell you that in a particular company, we doubt that there may be non-compliance. अगर हम आपको ऐसा कहते हैं कि कोई कंपनी में हमको डाउट है, there may be non-compliance, will you check more or less? On your chat box, will you check more or less? Okay, everyone agrees more. If you check more, right, pay attention, if you check more, the chances of mistakes are more or less. अगर आप ज्यादा चेक करते हैं तो गलती के चांसेस ज्यादा है या कम है? Of course, the chances of mistakes are less. So automatically what happens is when the auditor is careful, when the auditor is taking all these 12 points into account, and that is because of these, he's checking in detail, and the moment he checks in detail, automatically the risk comes down, right? So that is the reason why they have given you these indicators. And finally, we did one question today, and that is uh, that you have to state whether the auditor is responsible for compliance with law and regulation. We saw that auditor is not compliance with law and regulation. All the auditor has to do is that while giving the opinion on the financial statements, the auditor shall check whether the management has properly complied with all the laws and regulations. Right? That's it. We have revised the entire SA-250. First, I want to ask to Akshay. Akshay, are your points clear? That I told you to hold on for the time I was doing revision. So now when the revision is over, I am sure your points are covered. Quickly tell me on the chat box. Are you clear with this? Okay, excellent. Anyone else? Do you have any more doubts? Do you have any more doubts? Quickly check all your notes, the entire standard, and tell me. Do you have any more doubts? Okay, I have one doubt which says what is the meaning of retainership fees, right? So say for example, I have one lawyer. I have one lawyer in my organization. To that lawyer, I'm paying salary. Why? Because he is on my employee role. Now I feel that I do not need an employee or a lawyer in the form of an employee. Whenever I will need a lawyer, I will call someone. In that case, this relationship is known as retainership relationship. जब जरूरत हो तभी हम बुलाते हैं, उसका मतलब क्या है, वो हमारे पास रिटेनरशिप पे आता है। जब भी वो आता है अपनी सर्विस देता है, हम लोग क्या करते हैं, उसका बिल वो बिल बनाता है, हम उसको पेमेंट देते हैं। when you pay such amount of fees, not regularly, only as and when it is required, then it is known as retainership fees। मतलब मान लीजिए अगर आप किसी लॉयर को फ्रीक्वेंटली फीस दे रहे हो क्योंकि वो आपको कोई ना कोई सर्विस प्रोवाइड कर रहा है, then it is important for the auditor to know कि किस टाइप की सर्विस है जो आप obtain कर रहे हो, right? What kind of service is this that you are trying to obtain? Are you understanding? Right? So I hope that solves your doubt. I don't remember whose doubt that was. I think it was Sami, it was your doubt. Okay, perfect. If that is done, I have one more doubt of Mukaddisha. Now I'm reading the doubt which she has put over here. I request everyone to pay attention. It says in question number 4, in point number 2, can you give example of loan to consultant? Of course, I can give you an example of loan to consultant. Say for example, I'll give you an example. Say for example, Mukaddisha, you are appointed as the lawyer of our firm. तो हमारी firm में कभी कोई legal problem होगा तो आप हमारी firm को कोर्ट में represent करेंगे। अब आपको पता है कि इंडिया है और इंडिया में काफी टाइप के एडजस्टमेंट्स चलते हैं, तो आप मुझे ऐसा कहते हो कि सर हम आपको केस जितवा देंगे, हमको लॉयर को 5 लाख रुपए देने हैं, सॉरी ये जज को 5 लाख रुपए देने हैं। अगर हमने जज को 5 लाख रुपए दे दिए तो कोई इशू नहीं है, आपका केस आप जीत जाएंगे, हमारे फेवर में होगा। अब अगर मैं बुक्स में दिखाता हूँ कि मैंने जज को 5 लाख रुपीज दिए, तो सबसे पहला प्रॉब्लम ये है कि वो लोग मुझे पूछेंगे किस चीज के 5 लाख है और जज ने आपसे क्या खरीदा था या जज के साथ आपका क्या ट्रांजैक्शन है। और क्योंकि वो इस केस में हमारा डिसीजन लेने वाला है, देन इट इज नॉट सेफ टू शो हिज नेम इन द बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स। इन दैट केस व्हाट आई विल डू इज आई विल टेल द कंसल्टेंट कि मैं आपको दे देता हूँ और आपको मैंने लोन दिया है ऐसे रिकॉर्ड कर देता हूँ। सो आई विल रिकॉर्ड इट एज अ लोन टू माय कंसल्टेंट और कंसल्टेंट को कहेंगे कि हम धीरे धीरे ये लोन को राइट ऑफ करते जाएंगे इन एनी फॉर्म दैट इज पॉसिबल। पर अभी आप ये पेमेंट हम आपको दे रहे हैं, आप अपने हिसाब से कैसे भी एडजस्टमेंट करके आप जज को दे देना। Right? In that case, again, is it non-compliance? Yes, we are non-complying as we have given a loan to a consultant. That is one example of it. Okay, let me take another example. If you, Mukaddisha, I have a question to you. Suppose if I am running a public company, ध्यान देना, if I am running a public company, technically, whose money is the company using? Whose money is the company using? You agree with me? We are using the money of public. Okay, Mukaddisha, question number 2 to you. क्या आप पब्लिक के पैसे आप अगर डायरेक्टर है, क्या आप पब्लिक के पैसे अपनी पर्सनल बेनिफिट के लिए यूज कर सकते हैं? Yes or no? No. Then you will study in law a provision which says that if the company wants to give any loan to any person, Companies Act 2013 का provision बता रहा हूँ आपको, if the company wants to obtain or wants to give a loan to any person, then the company will have to take prior approval of the shareholders in the annual general meeting, right? So they will have to pass a resolution and the shareholders will then permit them to give the loan. Only then they can give the loan. क्यों? क्योंकि पैसे डायरेक्टर के नहीं है, पैसे शेयर होल्डर्स के हैं। तो शेयर होल्डर से पैसे लेके किसी को भी लोन देना, including a consultant, so any kind of loan that you would give will again be will result in non-compliance with the Companies Act if you have not taken prior approval of the shareholders, right? So this is one more example of loan to consultants, right? So Mukaddisha, I hope that solves your doubt and you are now clear with this. Okay, there is one more doubt which says how payment to our own employees leads to non-compliance, right? So you may pay, again it is the same example, you may pay more to your employee to do something wrong or to get something wrong done, right? There is one provision, I'll give you an example for that also. There is one provision which says that you try and route transactions through your employee's bank account. अब देखो क्या होता है, ध्यान से समझना. मान लीजिए मुझे किसी से पेमेंट लेना है और मुझे किसी से कैश में पेमेंट लेना है. क्यों? क्योंकि मैं बिल नहीं बना रहा हूँ. अब क्योंकि मैं कैश में पेमेंट ले रहा हूँ, सामने वाला बंदा बोल रहा है मेरे पास तो कैश है नहीं. अब मैं अगर उसको मेरे ऑफिशियल बैंक अकाउंट में लूंगा तो मुझे उसका बिल बनाना पड़ेगा. अदरवाइज हाउ विल आई जस्टिफाई? बिकॉज बैंक अकाउंट ट्रांजैक्शंस इनकम टैक्स कैन इजीली सी. Cash transactions difficult for the income tax to see. So in that case I will apply my mind. What I'll do is I'll tell my employee कि मैं ये पैसे तुम्हारे बैंक अकाउंट में ले लेता हूँ. आपका एम्प्लॉय आपको कहेगा कि सर ये तो रिस्क है, मुझे क्या मिलेगा, तो आप उस एम्प्लॉय को थोड़ा हिस्सा उसमें से दे देते हो. Again it is a payment to the employee. Why have you done that? Because of non compliance with some or the other law. Now through a more I can say a more precise answer to your question can be that whenever you make any kind of payment to the employees and it is unusual, see they are using the word unusual. Unusual मतलब regular से थोड़ा अलग, right? I am writing it again for you. It means unusual. Unusual मतलब regular नहीं है. उस केस में ऑडिटर को वो ट्रांजैक्शन डिटेल में चेक करना चाहिए. जब ऑडिटर डिटेल में चेक करेगा और उसको पता चलता है कि यार ये तो इंसेंटिव है, तो वो उस ट्रांजैक्शन को छोड़ देगा. अगर वो इंसेंटिव नहीं है, कोई और इंडिकेशन मिल रहा है हमको कि कोई और फ्रॉड हो सकता है, कोई गलती हो सकती है, देन इन दैट केस इट इज डेफिनेटली leading to some kind of non-compliance with any law or regulation. Right? So, Sprua, I hope that solves your doubt as well. Right? So, do let me know if that is clear to you. The company will definitely not record such a transaction, but any kind of payment that you give to the employee or any excessive payment, they will definitely record. Why? Because one thing, a payment will go from your account to the bank account of the employee. First thing, that is where you will record it. Second, you will try and understand and you will try and cross check with the stock. You will cross check with the stock. How will you cross check with the stock? आपके पास 10 यूनिट है, आपने 2 बेचे, तो 2 का पेमेंट तो आना चाहिए. अगर 2 का पेमेंट नहीं आया तो वो कहाँ गया? That is the time when you will doubt and you will check all the employees account. That is something that you can, again, as the auditor, you can check that also, and that is where you will get some kind of hint that this is the kind of income that the employees have received. Are you getting it? So this is again one kind of payment that can lead to non-compliance. I hope that is clear to you. Okay, perfect. If that is clear to you, again, I believe we must spare 10 more minutes. So I request you all that let's keep another 10 minutes for your doubt solving. If you have any doubt, so yesterday I was told that we have done 12 essays have been done, and I think including this, if I'm not wrong, 13 essays have been done. Am I right? Yes or no? If I'm not wrong, 13 standards on auditing we have done, including the one we finished today. 13 essays we have done. I will give you 5 minutes. Quickly have a look at it. If you have more doubts, let us make today's session a doubt solving session. If you have no more doubts, then you take a 5 minutes break. And then of course we can continue or begin with the new standard on auditing. So I'm still giving you 5 minutes. Quickly look at all the standards that you have. If you feel you want me to repeat any concept, if you feel you want me to explain some point again to you, if you have some particular doubt, please ask me. I will solve it for you. I am specifically allowing some time to go in the lecture. I want your doubts to be solved first. That is of utmost priority. If you're studying with discipline along with me, then I think those doubts should be solved timely. So I am giving you 5 minutes. Quickly have a look at all the standards that we have done. If you have any doubts, please ask me. I will solve it right away. Even if you feel that there is some topic you want me to repeat, please tell me. I'll repeat it right away for you. So please check all your standards and get back to me. After that, if still you do not have any doubts, we go to the new standard. Yes, any doubts? Anyone, any doubts in any standard on auditing or any other point that I have taught you and you want me to repeat it for you, or you have any doubt in that? Okay, I have one doubt which I will solve right now. The doubt is of SA-500, which is audit evidence. So there are two doubts. One is question number 13 and the other is question number 5. Okay, so I have the book with me. I request you to come to SA-500 that we have already done. The first doubt is in question number 13. Let's see question number 13, which says, okay, I am quickly explaining the question to you. It says inquiry is one of the audit procedures to obtain audit evidence. So what do you do in inquiry? In inquiry, Sami, please understand this. In inquiry, what happens is you obtain information from knowledgeable people in the organization. Now that information can help you in two things. One, it will give you information which previously you did not have. तो मान लीजिए एक डेटर है जो 12 महीने से जिसके पैसे बाकी है, अब बुक्स में देख के आपको पता नहीं चलेगा ये पैसे क्यों नहीं दे रहा, तो आप क्या करोगे? जो नॉलेजेबल पीपल है इन दी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, यू विल गो एंड आस्क देम ये 12 महीने से क्यों आउटस्टैंडिंग दिखा रहा है, तो आपको कहेगा कि इसके वहाँ कोई प्रॉब्लम हुआ है, तो ये इसको बैड डेट हुआ, मतलब ये इनसॉल्वेंट हो गया, right? So now you're obtaining some information which earlier you did not have. So sometimes by inquiry, a lot of information is available to you, right, which you cannot get directly from the books of accounts. Second, it can also help, or it can also provide corroborative audit evidence. What is the meaning of corroborative? It means supportive audit evidence. So sometimes what happens is you can obtain sufficient, you can obtain you can get supporting audit evidence. मान लीजिए आपको books of accounts में एक query मिली, मान लीजिए एक expenditure है for purchase of a car, और आपको पता है अभी अभी डायरेक्टर ने नई कार ली है, तो शायद आपको लगता है ये उसके लिए तो नहीं है, तो आप जाके मैनेजमेंट से पूछते हो और मैनेजमेंट आपको ये बताता है कि हाँ ये वही कार है, विच मीन्स जो ऑडिट एविडेंस आपने एक सोर्स से ऑब्टेन किया, आपको उसके लिए एक सपोर्टिंग ऑडिट एविडेंस मैनेजमेंट से क्वेश्चन पूछ के मिल जाता है, विच मीन्स यू गेट corroborative supportive audit evidence from the management, right? So that is basically the importance of your inquiry. It is the duty of the management to reply to each and every question to you in the inquiry, and the management has to reply and give you proper answers of whatever questions you are asking throughout the inquiry, right? So basically this is the importance of inquiry. uh, Sometimes what happens is when you obtain information from the management and you feel that information is important, you then tell the management कि हमने आपसे इंक्वायरी की, आपने हमको ओरल ऑडिट एविडेंस दिया, अब यही चीज आप हमको राइटिंग में दो so that it becomes written audit evidence. So you ask for the same thing in writing so that you have a proper proof to prove your point whenever it is required, right? So I hope that solves question number 13. Now let's go to question number 5. Question number 5. Right, okay. Question number 5 says, what are the audit procedures prescribed under SA-500? According to SA-500, following are the audit procedures that are applied to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence. Okay, pay attention please. The first point says risk assessment procedure. Risk assessment procedure मतलब आप सबसे पहले एंटिटी को समझो, एंटिटी के एनवायरनमेंट को समझो, उसके इंटरनल कंट्रोल को समझो. ये तीन समझने के बाद अगर आपको ऐसा लगता है कि यहाँ पे कोई भी टाइप का मिस स्टेटमेंट हो सकता है या यहाँ पे कोई भी टाइप की एरर हो सकती है, यहाँ पे कोई भी टाइप का फ्रॉड हो सकता है, then you will perform audit procedures accordingly. What will you do when you perform audit procedures? Say for example, in this, understand this carefully. What will happen in this case? Suppose if you find that there are more mistakes. So Sami, my question to you is, if you feel that there are more mistakes, right? If you feel that there are more mistakes, will you check more or less? Will you check more or less? So when you do risk assessment procedure, after doing the risk assessment procedure, आपको पता चलता है कि बहुत सारी गलती है. Will you check more or less? Of course you will check more. So this is indicating to you, obtaining knowledge about the client's business is indicating to you कि हमको यहाँ पे ज्यादा चेक करना चाहिए. जब आप उनका इंटरनल कंट्रोल चेक करते हो, आपको पता है कि इंटरनल कंट्रोल एकदम परफेक्ट चल रहा है, कोई इशू नहीं है. जब आपको पता चलता है कि इंटरनल कंट्रोल बिल्कुल परफेक्ट चल रहा है, कोई इशू नहीं है, टेल मी, विल यू चेक मोर और लेस? Will you check more or less? When you have full reliance on the internal control and it is working properly, will you check more or less? Of course you will check less, right? So these are the ways in which you can obtain information about the kind of audit evidence that is required, right? So these are all your audit procedures prescribed in SA-500. You have other audit procedures also. The one of them is test of controls. Test of controls means you try and study the entire internal control system. What do you study in the entire internal control system? You study the design, implementation and maintenance. डिजाइन पहले तो बेहतरीन होनी चाहिए जो सब एरियाज को कवर करे. मान लो अगर आपकी डिजाइन बहुत अच्छी है लेकिन आप इम्प्लीमेंट नहीं करते हो तो बहुत बड़ा प्रॉब्लम है, विच मीन्स डिजाइन के साथ साथ इम्प्लीमेंटेशन भी देखना पड़ेगा. डिजाइन और इम्प्लीमेंटेशन देख लिया लेकिन साल के 2 महीने ही हम ये फॉलो करते हैं, बाकी 10 महीने फॉलो नहीं करते हैं, विच मीन्स you are not able to maintain your internal control system throughout the audit period. That is again a drawback in your organization. So you will check in test of controls, design, implementation and maintenance of your internal control system. And then you have substantive procedures, which means checking the accuracy of the data. I've been giving this example to you again and again कि आपका आप कितना भी अच्छा कैलकुलेटर खरीद लो, लेकिन अगर इनपुट डेटा ही गलत होगा तो आउटपुट डेटा गलत ही आने वाला है. Similarly, if the data that you are feeding in the system is wrong, then your output is prone to be wrong. So that is why it is important to check the accuracy of the data, which again we will check by substantive audit procedure. Right, so again, what is the question? What are the audit procedures prescribed in SA-500? First is risk assessment procedure, जहाँ पे आप entity को समझेंगे, entity के environment को समझेंगे, और ये सब समझने के बाद आप decide करेंगे. You will identify and assess that what kind of risk is there and what kind of audit procedures are required. Similarly, in other audit procedures, you will have a look at the test of controls, which was earlier known as compliance procedures, which test the internal controls. And then when you have to check the accuracy of the data, you will check the substantive procedures. Are you getting it? I hope, Sami, this also solves your doubt. Yes or no on your chat box. Okay, great. So your first two doubts are solved, which is the first doubt was question number 13 SA-500 done, question number 5 SA-500 also done. Fine, now I have one more doubt, which says SA-500 question number 10. In that, the paragraph which is below, selecting all items. Okay, everyone come to question number 10 of SA-500. Okay, so I think it is Ishita's doubt. Ishita, are you talking about the paragraph which says according to SA-500, 100% examination is unlikely? Is that what you're talking about? Yes, okay. I'm reading that entire paragraph for you, so please pay attention. हम पहले तो क्वेश्चन समझिए, तो आपको पूरा कंटेक्स्ट समझ में आएगा आंसर का. क्वेश्चन पे ध्यान देना. The question says what considerations an auditor is required to observe when he is selecting items for testing to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence. जब ऑडिटर सैंपल सिलेक्ट करता है और सैंपल सिलेक्ट करने के बाद वो ऑडिट एविडेंस इकट्ठा करने वाला है, तो सैंपल सिलेक्ट करते वक्त किन बातों का ध्यान रखना चाहिए, राइट? किन किन बातों का ध्यान रखना चाहिए, क्वेश्चन समझिए. When he is selecting items to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence. अब देखो इनका रिलेशन क्या है. जो आइटम आप सिलेक्ट करोगे उसके बेसिस पे आप बताओगे कि हमारे पास सफिशिएंट अप्रोप्रिएट ऑडिट एविडेंस है या नहीं, और सफिशिएंट अप्रोप्रिएट ऑडिट एविडेंस के बेसिस पे आप बताओगे कि ऑडिट ओपिनियन क्या है, right? Which means your audit opinion is directly relating to the items that you are selecting for audit. क्योंकि जो सिलेक्ट करोगे उसी को आप टेस्ट करोगे, उसी से सफिशिएंट अप्रोप्रिएट ऑडिट एविडेंस ऑब्टेन होगा और उसी से आप ऑडिट कंक्लूजन दोगे. इसलिए इट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर यू टू अंडरस्टैंड, it is very important for you to understand that the items that you are selecting has direct relationship with your audit opinion. Which means जो भी आइटम आप सिलेक्ट करते हो आपको उसमें ठीक से ध्यान देना पड़ेगा और समझना पड़ेगा कि हम आइटम सही सिलेक्ट कर रहे हैं नहीं. उसमें ईशिता आपका डाउट है सिलेक्टिंग ऑल आइटम्स. उसमें तीन टाइप के मेथड है, एक सिलेक्टिंग ऑल आइटम्स, एक सिलेक्टिंग स्पेसिफिक आइटम्स और एक ऑडिट सैम्पलिंग. लेट्स नाउ अंडरस्टैंड सिलेक्टिंग ऑल आइटम्स. सिलेक्टिंग ऑल आइटम्स मतलब आपको लगता है कि ऑर्गेनाइजेशन की हर एक चीज बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, बहुत क्रूशियल है, कोई भी चीज छूटनी नहीं चाहिए, इसलिए यू विल चेक ईच एंड एवरीथिंग. सो आई एम राइटिंग ओवर हियर, यू विल चेक ईच एंड एवरीथिंग. You will be checking each and everything. When you are checking each and everything, it can be said that you are doing 100% checking. What happens in 100% checking? हम कोई ट्रांजैक्शन नहीं छोड़ते, एक एक चीज डिटेल में चेक करते हैं, उसको हम क्या कहते हैं? 100% चेकिंग. ओके, अब देखो 100% चेकिंग का एक रिलेशन है जो आपने पढ़ा है और आप ही मुझे आंसर बताएंगे. सो एवरीवन ऑन योर चैट बॉक्स, स्पेशली इशिता, इफ यू चेक 100%, माय क्वेश्चन टू यू इज, अगर आप 100% चेक करते हो तो क्या कुछ चेक करना छूटता है? यस और नो? आर यू लीविंग एनीथिंग? यस और नो? अगर 100% चेक करते हो तो कुछ छूटता है आपसे? कुछ भी नहीं छूटता. यू डू नॉट लीव एनीथिंग. इफ यू डू नॉट लीव एनीथिंग, डज एनीथिंग गो अनचेक्ड? यस और नो? इफ यू चेक एवरीथिंग, डज एनीथिंग गो अनचेक्ड? यस और नो? क्या कुछ भी चेक किए बगैर जा सकता है अगर आप 100% चेक करते हैं तो? ऑफ कोर्स नॉट. नथिंग कैन गो अनचेक्ड. नाउ बिकॉज नथिंग कैन गो अनचेक्ड, टेल मी, is there any risk that there will be misstatements? Yes or no? Is there any risk? No risk. Right? Right. So you understand, if you check all the transactions, the risk automatically reduces. अब 100% ट्रांजैक्शंस हर जगह पे चेक करना पॉसिबल नहीं है. रिलायंस जैसी कंपनी में एक दिन में 10,000 वाउचर बनते हैं, 10,000 सेल्स बिल बनते हैं एक दिन में. क्या आप 10,000 सेल्स बिल चेक कर पाओगे? दैट्स द फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन. आप नहीं चेक कर पाओगे प्रैक्टिकली. सो इट इज नॉट पॉसिबल इन एवरी काइंड ऑफ ट्रांजैक्शन. वेयर इज इट पॉसिबल? लेट्स अंडरस्टैंड दैट. देखो मैं वो पूरा पैराग्राफ आपके लिए पढ़ रहा हूँ. अकॉर्डिंग टू SA-500, 100% एग्जामिनेशन इज अनलाइकली इन केस ऑफ टेस्ट ऑफ कंट्रोल्स. राइट. सबसे पहले तो आप कोई भी कंट्रोल 100% चेक नहीं कर सकते. You cannot check test of controls 100%. You have to only check one control, and based on that you will give your opinion on the remaining. However, it is more common for test of details. 100% examination may be appropriate when, देखो ध्यान देना, the population has small number of large value items. मतलब आपके पास 10 ही ट्रांजैक्शन है पर एक ट्रांजैक्शन 10 करोड़ का है. Is the number of transactions less? Yes. The value per transaction is more. तो एक ट्रांजैक्शन 10 करोड़ का है, ऐसे आपके पास 10 ट्रांजैक्शन है, मतलब दे आर लेसर इन नंबर एंड हायर इन वैल्यू. इसमें एक में भी गलती हुई तो बहुत बड़ा प्रॉब्लम हो जाएगा, 10 करोड़ का एरर या फ्रॉड हो जाएगा. इसलिए एक एक ट्रांजैक्शन चेक करना जरूरी है. क्यों? क्योंकि नंबर में ट्रांजैक्शन कम है लेकिन वैल्यू में एक एक ट्रांजैक्शन की वैल्यू बहुत ज्यादा है. क्योंकि एक एक ट्रांजैक्शन की वैल्यू बहुत ज्यादा है, एक में भी गलती हुई तो हमारी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स विल बी मटेरियली मिसस्टेटेड. इसीलिए यू विल ऑलवेज हैव 100% चेकिंग ऑन दोस ट्रांजैक्शंस व्हिच आर लेस इन नंबर बट हायर इन वैल्यू. Right? That's your first point. Second, there is significant risk and other means do not provide sufficient appropriate audit evidence. आपको ऐसा लगता है कि बहुत रिस्क है और कोई तरीका हमारे पास नहीं है चेक करने का, एक ही तरीका है, और वो एक तरीका कौन सा है? 100% verification. Then you will go for 100% selecting all items, that is 100% checking. And finally, the repetitive nature of calculation or other processes performed automatically by the information system makes 100% examination cost effective. This also we have discussed. मान लो आप बैंक का कोई ट्रांजैक्शन चेक करते हो तो बैंक की एक ही फॉर्मूला है फिक्स डिपॉजिट पीरियड की. हमने एक और एग्जांपल देखा था कल्याण ज्वेलर्स का, जहां उन्होंने एक गोल्ड की स्कीम निकाली थी. वो स्कीम उसी दिन चालू होती है और सब लोगों ने उसी दिन पे वो स्कीम के लिए they applied for that scheme. Now what happens? Everyone will have one common calculation. अब क्योंकि सबका कैलकुलेशन है कि मुझे खाली एक फॉर्मूला यूज करनी है हर एक ट्रांजैक्शन में, कोई भी ट्रांजैक्शन चेंज नहीं होने वाला, which means मेरा बहुत कम स्टाफ जाएगा और बहुत कम टाइम में ये सारे ट्रांजैक्शन चेक हो जाएंगे. मतलब ये ट्रांजैक्शंस को चेक करना इज कॉस्ट इफेक्टिव. क्योंकि इन ट्रांजैक्शंस को चेक करना इज कॉस्ट इफेक्टिव, इट कैन बी सेड that you can easily have 100% checking over here. Are you getting it? Right, I hope Ishita that solves your doubt clearly. I hope that clearly solves your doubt. Okay, excellent. I have one more doubt which says question number 3 of SA-700. So everyone please come to question number 3, SA-700. Question number 3, SA-700. Right, so question number 3, SA-700 says, what are the considerations required for an auditor to form an audit opinion? Question क्या पूछ रहा है? जब आप audit opinion दे रहे हो तब आपको किन बातों का ध्यान रखना चाहिए, किन बातों को ध्यान में लेना चाहिए जब आप audit opinion देते हो? ओके, देखो सबसे पहले क्या देखना पड़ेगा? The financial statements adequately disclose significant accounting policies selected and applied. आपने कौन सी अकाउंटिंग पॉलिसी सिलेक्ट की है? क्या वो AS1 के हिसाब से? कोई गलती तो नहीं है. अगर गलती है तो हमें ऑडिट ओपिनियन को अकॉर्डिंगली वी विल हैव टू चेंज. सो द फर्स्ट थिंग दैट यू विल टेक इनटू अकाउंट इज व्हाट इज द अकाउंटिंग पॉलिसी सिलेक्टेड एंड अप्लाइड. सेकंड, व्हाटएवर अकाउंटिंग पॉलिसी यू हैव सिलेक्टेड एंड अप्लाइड is consistent with the applicable FRF. So if the applicable FRF says that yes you must follow this, then whatever you have done is absolutely correct, right? After that, you have third point. The accounting estimate made by the management are reasonable. So whatever accounting as estimates made by the management, whether they are reasonable or not, that is something that you will check. The fourth point that you will check is that adequate disclosures have been made, and these disclosures are enabling the users to understand the effect of the material transaction. मतलब अपने disclosures सारे ढंग से किए हैं. अब disclosure भी कोई ना कोई accounting standard के हिसाब से होता है या statute के हिसाब से होता है. तो क्या आपने सारे disclosures ठीक से किए हैं? अगर disclosure ठीक से नहीं किए तो again your audit opinion will be affected. Your fifth point says that the terminology used in the financial statements is appropriate. So whatever terms you have used in the financial statements, they are correct and they are not misleading. Right after that, you have the information presented in the financial statements should have four attributes. It should be relevant, it should be reliable, it should be comparable, and it should be understandable. सबसे पहले relevant information होनी चाहिए. मैं purchase के बारे में पूछ रहा हूँ तो आपने purchase का ही जवाब दिया है तो वो relevant हुआ. दूसरी बात, रिलायबल. ऐसा नहीं हो कि गलत इन्फॉर्मेशन हम ऑडिटर को दे रहे हैं, गलत इन्फॉर्मेशन हम यूजर्स ऑफ फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स को दे रहे हैं. सारी इन्फॉर्मेशन रिलायबल होनी चाहिए. थर्ड पॉइंट, इट कैन बी कंपेरेबल. यू कैन कंपेयर द प्रीवियस ईयर एंड द करंट ईयर. एंड फोर्थ, इट शुड बी अंडरस्टैंडेबल. आप समझने लायक होना चाहिए, आपको समझ में आना चाहिए. इफ यू डोंट अंडरस्टैंड, यू कैन नॉट टेक डिसीजन regarding looking at the financial statements. So it is very important that your financial statements are understandable. Right after that, after that you have the seventh point, which says the auditor shall evaluate whether the financial statements are prepared as per the applicable financial reporting framework. जो भी financial reporting framework आपको applicable है उसके हिसाब से ही आपने books बनाए हैं. The auditor should ensure while giving audit opinion that sufficient appropriate audit evidence has been obtained to reduce the audit risk to an acceptably low level. And finally, whether the auditor has reasons to conclude that uncorrected misstatements are material, whether individually or in aggregate. मतलब आपने अपने मैनेजमेंट को कहा कि ये गलतियां ठीक करो, अगर वो ठीक नहीं करते, that means it is uncorrected misstatement. क्या वो uncorrected का misstatement या उसका impact material है on the financial statements? That is something that you will check. So these are the 9 points that you will take into account before giving an opinion on the financial statements. Are you getting it? Okay, I think this was Sami's doubt. So I hope Sami that clears your doubt. Okay, excellent. That is now clear to you. I have one more doubt that says how 100% transaction is not possible for test of controls, but it is possible for test of details. Okay. Say for example, ध्यान देना, Spruha, I am asking a question to you. You remember we understood internal control for purchase of goods. You remember we studied, पहला ही दिन था ऑडिट का या दूसरा दिन था, मैंने आपको इंटरनल कंट्रोल समझाया था, आपको याद है? ओके, अब ये इंटरनल कंट्रोल को टेस्ट करना है, राइट? स्प्रूहा हेल्प मी आउट. इंटरनल कंट्रोल को हमें टेस्ट करना है. इंटरनल कंट्रोल टेस्ट कैसे होगा? ऑफ परचेज. हाउ डू यू थिंक वी कैन टेस्ट द इंटरनल कंट्रोल ऑफ परचेजेस? कैन यू हेल्प मी? हाउ कैन यू टेस्ट? मान लीजिए मैं आपको एग्जांपल देता हूँ. हर एक परचेज से पहले आपके पास 3 कोटेशन आने चाहिए. वो 3 कोटेशन में से हमने लोएस्ट सिलेक्ट किया है, उसके बाद उसका क्वालिटी कंट्रोल होना चाहिए. ये सब. माय क्वेश्चन टू यू इज हाउ विल यू चेक? माय क्वेश्चन टू यू इज हाउ विल यू चेक? We have already studied this, so just think and tell me, how will you check internal control for purchases? Okay, we can compare prices quoted with the prices in the purchase order or bill. Excellent, absolutely correct. Okay, when you do this, Pruha, I am again asking to you, when you do this, can I say you are checking internal control, yes or no? जब आप ये कर रहे हो तो आप क्या yes. Okay, आपने एक महीने में आपके पास 1200 परचेज बिल है. Can you check all 1200 purchase bills? You cannot check. Are you understanding? Can you check all 1200 purchase bills? You cannot check. Since you cannot check all 1200 purchase bills, in this case I am saying that testing controls for all is not necessary. अगर 10 ट्रांजैक्शन में रैंडमली आपको पता चलता है कि इंटरनल कंट्रोल सिस्टम फॉलो हुआ है, तो वो 10 ट्रांजैक्शन में 100% चेकिंग का वो प्रूफ दे ही रहा है कि इट इज प्रॉपर्ली बीइंग फॉलोड. उसमें 100% चेक करना डज नॉट मेक सेंस, राइट? फर्स्ट पॉइंट. On the other hand, let's come to test of details. In test of details, suppose if you have one transaction or if you have one particular nature of goods. मान लो आपको पता चलता है कि एक टाइप का केमिकल है फैक्ट्री में, उस पे स्पेसिफिकली 28% जीएसटी लगता है, बाकी कहीं पे 28% जीएसटी नहीं लगता, इस एक पे 28% जीएसटी लगता है. अब ऐसे कितने ट्रांजैक्शन है? 100 ट्रांजैक्शन है. क्या आप ये 100 ट्रांजैक्शन पूरे साल के जो हैं उसको चेक कर सकते हो? कैन यू डू 100% चेकिंग? कैन यू चेक? यस. सो नाउ टेल मी, इज इट पॉसिबल टू चेक टेस्ट ऑफ डिटेल्स 100%? यस, इट इज पॉसिबल. इंटरनल कंट्रोल्स एक एक का 100% कैसे चेक करोगे? फिर तो आपका कम से कम 1.5-2 साल तो आपके इंटरनल कंट्रोल चेक करने में ही निकल जाएंगे, तो उसको आप 100% चेक नहीं कर सकते. लेकिन टेस्ट ऑफ डिटेल्स में काफी सारी चीजें ऐसी है जहां पे आप 100% चेकिंग इजीली कर सकते हो, राइट? आई होप स्प्रूहा दैट सॉल्व्स योर डाउट एंड दैट इज नाउ क्लियर टू यू. Okay, excellent. Any more doubts? I think I have covered all the doubts. No more doubts are left. Okay, okay. I'm sorry. Okay, everyone on the chat box, do you have any more doubts? Are you clear with whatever we have done? Are you clear with whatever we have done? Yes or no? So Akshay, Aman, Anjali, Aksa, Bhavin, Dipesh, Dhara, Digesh, Tulsi, Harshita, Het, Ishita, Jalpan, Jaydev, Kajal, Khushi, Maharshi, Manav, Mayur, Mukaddisha, Nidhi, Nikita, Nirma, Om, Pavan, Pushti. Everyone on your chat box, are you clear with this? Raj, Rizwan, Rohan, Sami, Samira, Shifa, Shreyas, Simran, Spruha, Shrushti, Ved, and Yash. Are you all clear with whatever we have done? Quickly on your chat box. अभी तक जितना भी हमने पढ़ा है, are you clear with this? Are you all clear with whatever we have done till now in audit? Okay, fine. If you're done with this, let's go to a new standard. What we will do is, let's take a 5 minutes break. It is 4:25. Let's meet back sharp at 5:30 and let's understand the basics of SA-530 that we have done, that we are going to do, right? So let's understand the basics of audit sampling. Whatever I've explained to you in SA-250, do revise it today, and if you still have doubts, please get back to me. I will solve them for you. So see you back in 5 minutes with for SA 530. I'll share a new link with you. Please join in there. Thank you.